Well, so it's last call for baffling mysteries. This, the final story, Terror in the Coal Pit. So, here we go.
I shouldn't stop. It might be a highway robbery stunt, but I can't just run him down. And that other car, if he tries to jump out of my way in that direction...
After 10 hours of hard driving, the eyes sometimes play tricks on you, especially at midnight. I was hitting it up through the mountainous cold... Oh, it's her talking.
I was hitting it up through the mountainous coal mine section of Pennsylvania, hearing the end of my trip,
Oh, hearing me,
when suddenly, almost out of nowhere, a man stood pinned in the crisscross glare of my car, and one coming from the other direction. He was frantically flagging his arms at me in a stop signal, and I began to pump the brakes. That was how it started. The most strangely haunting, terrifying night of my life.
Oh.
Suddenly, before my horror-struck gaze, the man stepped to one side, full into the path of the other onrushing car. Strangely, he seemed completely unaware of his danger. As though both sets of headlights focused on the man in the road, the other driver failed to see him. Didn't swerve or slacken speed, but smashed straight into him. Oh, he'll be hit. That driver will fly right into him. What a horrible thing. Strange, though. He seemed to disappear after that car struck him. Or else I was temporarily blinded by the headlights. As I got out of the car and started back, I saw an amazing thing. The man who had been so murderously run over was walking toward me, apparently unhurt. I expected to find you in pieces lying in the ditch. The way that car rammed you.
It didn't really hit me. You can see, Miss Jarvis, I'm not hurt.
How do you know my name?
What difference does it make? What is important, Miss Jarvis, is that you stopped for me. Now, if you'll just follow me to the mine, quickly. The men need your nursing experience. There's been a bad cave-in.
He knew my name and the fact that I was a nurse. I was afraid, yet I seemed powerless to disobey him. I found myself following him meekly down a dark, lonely path.
Hurry. The mine shaft is only a few hundred yards ahead.
A rickety elevator plunged us to the bottom of the shaft, where the deathly silence was so thick you could feel it pressing around you. I was weak with fear, but it was too late to turn back now.
Don't mind the rats and bats. They won't bother us.
That mule skeleton, the beast must have been dead for years, and that wrecked coal car is coated with rust. How is that?
Later you'll understand all this.
Suddenly, as I turned into a more cartoony character. Suddenly, as I followed him out with the miner's hat lamp, but instead of complete enshrouding gloom, I saw you're all aglow with some greenish ghostly light. What is it?
I'm the Green Lantern. Probably phosphorus. A lot of it down in these mines. At least you can still see me to follow me. Wait a minute. Is that... Yeah.
In a few minutes, we emerged from the tunnel into the cavern-lined pit number 5.
You see, I brought her here safely, Mr. Manco. Thank goodness. Come over here, Mona Jarvis. Hurry. I feel that my time is almost up, and I have important things to tell you.
This man was introduced to me as Alvin Manco, owner of the Lucky Mule Mine, who had been on an inspection tour when he got caught by the cave-in. An eerie feeling crawled over me at realization that he, too, knew my name and seemed to have been expecting me. Lucky thing I carry a first aid kit. Fresh bandages will make you and the others a little more comfortable. Anyhow, Mr. Manco.
Don't waste too much time on us. It won't do much good. I've got a letter that you must take to my son, Walter. This letter wills the Lucky Mule Mine to Walter and tells the location of a big, rich new vein of anthracite we discovered just before the cave-in. Leave now, Miss Jarvis, before it's too late. Hurry!
But I don't understand. You men aren't really trapped. If I could... An ominous rumbling roar from the tunnel leading to the elevator shaft interrupted me. Fearful of being trapped by a new cave-in, I started back down the tunnel toward the exit without further questions. If I get out, I can send back help.
So, she just leaves him. But, what was she going to do?
When I came, the tunnel was a pitch blackness. Now there are torches so that I could see my way. But where did they come from? Who put them there? That was just another of the many strange and awesome things happening this insane night, to which there seemed no logical explanation, nor did I have much time to think about it. Suddenly ahead of me, just before I reached the elevator, another cave-in. I'll be trapped too, and there's gas. It'll smother me, even if it doesn't ignite from those torches.
Bum, bum, bum. Crash.
A hole, just big enough for me to wriggle through. Got to hurry. Can't stop for my shoe or purse. Got to get out of here. Just as I reached the elevator and started up, the gas in the tunnel ignited. There was a deafening explosion, and the tunnel from which I'd barely escaped became a scene out of Hades. The sound stunned me, and the blast of hot air from the explosion almost blew me over.
Boom.
A few minutes later, out here in the open night, I can hardly believe those nightmarish things happened, except that my shoe and purse are gone, and I have this letter. A few miles further on, I came to Rock City, a typical mining town, rough and colorful as the men who worked there. I don't have any idea what Walter Manco looks like, yet strangely, I feel that I will know him. As though some mysterious hand was leading me, I walked into one of the tough dives and... You're Walter Manco, aren't you? You look a lot like your father.
What's that? How'd you know my father? Never mind this dame. Oh, never mind this dame, Walt. Hurry up and sign that deed to mine. Oh, to the mine and get it over with. Scram, girlie. We're talking big business.
If this is the deed to the Lucky Mule, Walt, you'd better wait until you read your father's will and his letter about the big new vein of anthracite he found.
Walt's old Ned didn't leave any will. He was killed 10 years ago in a mine cave-in. He's still down there. They never got the dead guys out.
What was he saying? Alvin Manco dead 10 years. The mine cave-in happened that long ago. Then how could I have possibly talked to those men tonight? But, I saw Mr. Manco just a little while ago. I
don't know what your angle is, sister, but give me back that deed. Trying to bust up our deal? Now, leave her alone, Capo. I want to hear her story. Didn't you hear me? Maybe this will open your ears. Suck.
After he led me back to his table, Walter Manco told me that Campo had been after him for a week to sell the Lucky Mule mine to him.
This letter from my father. If it isn't a hoax, it means that he discovered a new vein. That makes the mine worth a fortune.
It isn't any hoax. I can describe your father. When I had finished describing the man and the mine, he suddenly turned into a cartoonish-looking guy, too.
That's Dad, all right. And the other man you described is his foreman. And your description of Pit 5 is perfect. Maybe this is all on the level. Let's go see my lawyer. But first, I'll go home and get cleaned up.
At the home of Colin Andrews, the Manco family's attorney, some of Alvin's original documents were used to compare the handwriting of the will and letter that I had brought to Walter.
They check perfectly, Walter. This letter is from your father, all right. It's a strange thing. Very strange. Especially under the circumstances. Perhaps you'd better tell them to Mona. Alvin Manco was bankrupt. His mine worked out of the time of his death. Walter and his father had always been very close, and the accident, finding out he was broke, and having to assume all of his father's debt, was a severe shock to the boy. He was never good for much after that. Well, I didn't want you to tell her all that. But that's all changed now. Mona's story gives me new hope. You can arrange for me to borrow the money to blast open the mine. Maybe we can get to the new vein Dad described. You forget, Walter, a dozen attempts were made to get to the trapped man. They were too deep. The cave-in was too heavy, and we didn't even know which pit they were in. I'm afraid that would be impossible. Well, I never.
Walter Manco told Andrews that my description, he now knew which pit the men were in. He begged and pleaded, and finally Andrews agreed to get the money to reopen the mine. Later, back in my hotel, I tumbled onto the bed and fell into exhausted slumber, my mind full of the night's bizarre adventure. I feel like I could sleep forever. I don't know what time it was, nor what awakened me, but suddenly, during the night, I sat bolt upright and saw written in glowing, wavering letters on the mirror. Who wrote that? Is somebody in this room?
What? Tell Walt to start digging through Tunnel 10 to get us.
Breathless with terror, I found courage to get up and snap on the lamp, only to find the writing on the mirror's gone. Or maybe it was never there. Perhaps I was just dreaming, having a nightmare. The next morning, Walter Manco called me and told me he'd made all arrangements for trying to reopen the mine. I went out there with him.
I'm afraid it's no use, Mona. They've been working all morning, but can't get through. Pit 5 is completely blocked off by tons of rock and dirt.
That handwriting on the mirror. I wonder, Walt, try to break through from Tunnel 10.
Huh? Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
Walt Manco remembered that Tunnel 10 did back you up against Pit 5. We hurried there, and the men feverishly went to work. After several hours...
Good Lord, look at this. There's a lot of sand and loose shell. Easy to dig through. They're liable to break through any minute. I kind of wish we had thought of that 10 years ago, but anyway. 30 minutes later...
30 minutes later, the breakthrough was made. Walter and I clambered inside. Everything was the same as it had been the night before, in Pit 5, except that the men I'd seen and talked to were skeletons. 10 years dead.
I finally got to you, Dad, thanks to Mona. And, Dad, you're going to be proud of me from now on. I'll find that new vein, and the lucky mule will once again be going full blast.
Hey, Mr. Manco, look at this. Look what I found in Tunnel 7.
What is it, Steve? Oh, it was some other guy. What is it, Stevens?
A strange sense of relief surged through me as I saw that he had found my shoe and purse lost in the mine the night before. I knew how that none of this was just coincidence, that even though the time element was off, all those strange things had happened. I had been here last night, and yet how could anyone explain the strange occurrences of the past 24 hours?
A lady's shoe and purse. How could they get it here? I don't know, Stevens. Just forget about it. We'll take those things.
A little later, the new vein of coal was located as Walter's dead father had described it.
By the looks of this, the lucky mule will be kept going full force for the next 10 years, at least. That slicker, Campo, must have found out about this some way. That's why he was so anxious to buy the mine from me. Cheap.
Walter and Manco and I married. Because, I was there, so he might as well. And the Lucky Mule mine prospers. We never discussed the bizarre adventure of that strange night I spent in the coal pits. Better to forget it, Walter told me. There are some things that are better left unspoken. Some people would call you insane, so I tried to forget it. But sometimes...
Lucky Mule Mine private keep out. Yeah. The end. So they were all ghosts, and they lured her into the mine so they could get the message to Walter. As for the other guys, they didn't get to send a final message to their families. They were just the hired help. Oh boy, look how you can reduce your gut. Magic panel feature slims like magic. Look slimmer, more youthful. There you go. So if you're interested in that, head over to Figure Adjuster Company, Department 391, 311 Market Street, Newark, New Jersey. Act now while girdles last. Anyway, we'll see what I'll be reading next Sunday. I have no idea, but I don't know. I'll find something. So stay tuned until the next exciting episode of Mr. Nailsin Sunday Comics.